Coming up on MilCyberSync, a multi-billion-dollar bipartisan bill could get critically needed computer chips rolling out of American factories.
Also ahead, how a wildly popular social media platform could be a threat to national security. Those stories and more, so get ready to get in sync with MilCyberSync.
You're watching the MilCyberSync podcast with Nick Thomas and Layla Guland.
Hello and welcome to the MilCyberSync podcast, reporting on the latest events happening in cyber news. I'm Layla Guland with your host, Nick Thomas. It's great to see you again.
Good to see you, Layla. How are you doing this week?
Doing just great. Of course, we want to make sure that we give our folks a reminder here. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you're watching us on your YouTube channel, on our YouTube channel that is, click on that notification bell for our latest posts.
Sounds good, Layla. And don't forget to mark your calendars. The DEF CON Arcade Party is back, and it'll be a great event hosted by us, the Military Cyber Professionals Association, for all DEF CON attendees. Besides reconnecting with your youth, it'll be a way to share information about technology in support of the MCPA's nonprofit STEM education mission, your favorite video games, including a custom-built 16-player-led foosball table, will be on tap, plus a DJ pumping out some great tunes, and, of course, it's all free. You won't even need quarters for the games. But attendees are asked to consider donating to our charity in Bitcoin, card, or cash on site. Layla, sounds like a good time with no quarters for games.
Oh, I love that. That was my dream as a child. Oh, I want to come. All right. Well, a bipartisan victory to boost domestic production of computer chips will cost nearly $80 billion in subsidies for domestic semiconductor manufacturing and research. The Senate bill, known as CHIPS Plus, now heads to the House before it gets sent to President Joe Biden for his signature. Supporters on Capitol Hill, as well as key members of Biden's cabinet, have argued that making microchips at home rather than relying on chip makers in China, Taiwan, and elsewhere is critical to U.S. national security. The package also includes tens of billions of dollars more in authorizations for science and research programs, as well as for regional technology hubs around the country. But not everyone is on board. Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont calls the bill massive corporate welfare for the semiconductor industry. Nick.
Well, the Transportation Security Administration has revised its cybersecurity guidelines for the nation's critical pipeline operators and companies. It will now take into account industry requests for more flexibility in defending their networks. Guidelines were first put in place last July in response to the May 2021 hack of Colonial Pipeline's business systems. The company shut off fuel delivery to much of the East Coast for 6 days to recover from the attack. According to the TSA, there were more than 380 requests from operators to implement alternative measures to those specified in the first security directive. The new security directive shifts the policy to offer pipeline operators more flexibility to meet the intended security outcomes. The guidelines also extend the mandatory notification period from 12 to 24 hours of a company's identification of a breach. Layla?
Well, federal agencies are doubling down on preventing future attacks on the nation's critical infrastructures. CISA says all companies and organizations need to invest in the best cybersecurity practices as ransomware becomes a more pervasive and common threat. Ransomware hackers are not exclusively targeting large organizations and businesses, but smaller entities as well. CISA says that given the interconnectivity of most U.S. infrastructure, the interference in one smaller company could give malicious cyber actors a foothold in the nation's larger critical service providers. Another key protocol in preventing cyber attacks across all companies is incident reporting. Congress has successfully passed the Cyber Incident Reporting for Critical Infrastructure Act, which President Biden signed into law in March. To alleviate this burden, CISA will soon be issuing a request for information to receive input on the details required for reporting. Nick.
The U.S. House of Representatives have passed two cybersecurity bills, the Energy Cybersecurity University Leadership Act and the Ransomware Act. Ransomware is an acronym for reporting attacks from nations selected for overnight and monitoring web attacks and ransomware from enemies. The bill aims to amend and update the Safe Web Act of 2006, which gives the Federal Trade Commission the authority to provide evidence to foreign law enforcement agencies in an effort to support investigations and enforcement actions. The second bill that passed the House is the Energy Cybersecurity University Leadership Act, which requires the Department of Energy to establish an Energy Cybersecurity University Leadership Program. As part of this program, graduate students and postdoctoral researchers would be provided financial assistance for taking courses that integrate cybersecurity. Layla?
Well, the independent organization that oversees accreditations under the Defense Department has approved a process set forth by the Pentagon to ensure contractors that handle controlled unclassified information, or CUI, to meet required standards. The new Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification Program will mandate those contractors that work with the department's CUI be CMMC certified or risk losing its business. The process goes on to explain the 4 phases of an assessment to ensure that it meets the goals of accuracy, fidelity, and quality, maximize consistency among various assessors, and ultimately improved cybersecurity defensive posture and cyber resiliency. DoD officials have said that they anticipate an interim final rule for CMMC to be issued by March of next year. Nick?
The Navy is building the next generation of cyber talent. The U.S. Fleet Cyber Command has authorized to tap reserve components for what it calls Operation Cyber Dragon. Chief Warrant Officer Scott Bryson says he didn't have the manpower to go after thousands of common vulnerabilities that plague Navy networks. So now reservists who don't necessarily have a technical background will get trained and integrated to help hunt down and fix problems in unclassified networks. The program relies on reservists who are fulfilling their required 2 weeks of annual training. The most recent batch of 30 sailors was rotated in this month, and the program started earlier this year and will complete its second phase in August. In an era when the Pentagon struggles to woo tech talent away from higher private sector salaries, the Cyber Dragon program has already inspired several participants to deepen their knowledge and even their Navy career. Layla?
Well, the new commander of the Air Force's Information Warfare Unit wants to increase and bolster partnerships. Lieutenant General Kevin Kennedy says information can be used to build coalitions in competition, and sharing and exposing malign activity and insights with allies and partners is key. Partnerships have been a top priority for General Paul Nakasone, who is the commander of Cyber Command and director of NSA. Cyber Command has worked with several partner nations to build their capacity in cyberspace and share threat information that benefits the broader cybersecurity community. Nick?
The White House Office of National Cyber Director has a new appointee. Camille Stewart Gloucester is now Deputy National Cyber Director for Technology and Ecosystem Security, and the latest recruit to the office leadership roster. Stewart Gloucester would work to help the ONCD fortify the security and development of the U.S. cyber ecosystem, spanning both the technological components as well as the public sector employees that run digital processes. Stewart Gloucester previously worked for Google, where she was the global head of product security strategy. And before we go to a break, as always, if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, click on that notification bell for our latest posts related to everything military cyber and cybersecurity.
When we come back, a huge reward is up for grabs for information leading to North Korean hackers. We'll be right back.
Today's network and security monitoring solutions are vulnerable to overload situations that lead to decreased visibility and undetected intrusions. Monitoring applications require hardware to keep up with real-time traffic analysis, making it complex and costly. Your security monitoring solutions may be unable to keep up during cyber attacks or traffic spikes, making intrusion more likely. A new approach is needed to increase network protection and visibility. Axellio simplifies and streamlines your network monitoring for critical security, network, and application analysis. Learn more at Axellio.com.
Hey, welcome back. Mega millions are being offered to anyone who has information on individuals associated with notorious North Korean state-sponsored hacking groups. The U.S. Department of State has announced that it is offering up to $10 million for information that leads to hackers that are part of the Advanced Persistent Threat Actors known as Lazarus Group, Blunarov, Andariel, APT-38, Guardians of Peace, and Kamusky. Lazarus, of course, is the commonly used term when referring to the cyber activities in North Korea and have been blamed for various high-profile cyber attacks, including the recent Ronin 600 million cryptocurrency heist and the 100 million hack of Harmony's Horizon Bridge. Last year, the U.S. government stepped up its efforts against ransomware and other cyber threats by offering big money. The Department of State underlined its interest in rewarding individuals offering information on Russian intelligence officers responsible for the 2017 NotPetya attack. Layla?
Security researchers with Kaspersky have analyzed a UEFI firmware rootkit that appears to target specific motherboard models from Gigabyte and Asus. Dubbed Cosmic Strand, the rootkit was likely developed by an unknown Chinese-speaking threat actor. It was found located in the firmware images of Gigabyte and Asus motherboards using the H81 chipset, suggesting that a common vulnerability may have been exploited for infection. Kaspersky believes that the firmware changes might have been performed with an automated patcher, which would imply that the attacker either had physical access to the infected motherboards or used an implant already running on the motherboards. A malicious hook setup in the root manager allows the threat to modify the Windows kernel loader before it runs and injects a shell code in the memory. Next, after a sleep period, the malware fetches the final payload. Comic Strand victims identified are private individuals from China, Iran, Russia, and Vietnam. Nick?
Chinese officials allegedly compromised IT equipment belonging to a Federal Reserve employee. The Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee uncovered evidence that equipment was compromised while the Fed employee was detained 4 times by Chinese government staff during a trip to Shanghai in 2019. Officials working for China also used threats against the individual's family in an attempt to coerce him to provide economic information and assistance. The report stated that China has targeted the U.S. Federal Reserve System at least 2013 with the intention of undermining American economic and monetary policy. The espionage allegations emerge amid heightened tensions between the U.S. and China. The report also comes as widespread concerns over the ability of the Chinese government to compromise U.S. government IT systems. These include the prospect that China may be leveraging American-designed semiconductors to enhance its artificial intelligence capabilities. Layla?
Well, finally today, a popular social media platform, when used by troops and their family members, could be jeopardizing national security. TikTok, which is owned by the Beijing-based ByteDance, has been banned from government devices. However, troops and family members can use the app on personal devices. TikTok has grown in popularity in the military community. Troops often upload videos of barracks, military equipment, and maneuvers. The threats to active duty and veterans come from a variety of sources, and many of the frauds seen on other online platforms are also perpetrated on TikTok. But there are unique national security concerns with this video sharing app. A BuzzFeed News report of leaked audio from 80 internal TikTok meetings showed China has repeatedly accessed Americans' user data. Google and Apple have been asked to remove TikTok from their app stores. Nick?
Hey, thanks, Layla. So if you're in the car listening and would rather be watching, be sure to check us out on our YouTube channel. Find us at Military Cyber Professionals Association or MilCyber.org for all our content related to all things military cyber and cybersecurity. And of course, be sure to like and subscribe and click on that notification bell for our latest posts.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us. On behalf of Nick and myself, we want to thank you so much for watching. You are now in sync with MilCyberSync. We'll see you again next week.
This has been the MilCyberSync podcast. Brought to you by the Military Cyber Professionals Association. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you're watching us on YouTube, click on the notification bell for our latest posts.
Don't forget to mark your calendars. The DEF CON Arcade Party is back. It'll be a great event hosted by the Military Cyber Professionals Association for all DEF CON attendees. Your favorite video games, including a custom-built 16-player LED foosball table, will be on tap, plus a DJ pumping out some great tunes. And it's all free, no quarters required. But please consider donating to our charity in Bitcoin, credit card, or cash on site. Visit arcadeparty.org for more details.